Hello, my name is Madison Norris, and for my senior research, I conducted a study on the perception of working mothers versus the perception of stay-at-home mothers. I apologize for my voice or any coughing that I may have during this. I am currently struggling with a cold. So, a little bit of background on motherhood in our culture today. Women are often scrutinized for both making the choice to be a stay-at-home mom as well as being a working mother. So, in multiple studies, it has been found that women are not supportive of each other in deciding to be a mother, and specifically being a stay-at-home mother, as they are often viewed as not as successful and lacking a sense of adult life due to their own decisions to be a stay-at-home mom for their children. So, a bit more background on the perception of mothers in general. In a study done in 2009 by Gungor and Biernet, researchers found that in regard to perceived availability for both women and men, married, single, and also with children, when applying for a job, married women with children were perceived as highly unavailable, while men were perceived as very available. Along with this, in another study done in 2014 by Kahn, when asked if children were better off with their mother at home or if they were just as well off if she worked, 51% of participants responded that children were better off with their mother at home, while only 34% said that they were just as well off with their mother working from outside of the home. A bit more background on this. In 2002, Bridges and other researchers found that found that participants in this study viewed stay-at-home parents as more communal, excuse me, and better parents overall. Along with this, participants estimated that stay-at-home parents would provide more physical care, emotional care, and stimulation in general in comparison to parents that worked outside of the home. Along with this, another study that Bridges was in 1995, specifically looking at college students and the perception of mothers, found that, found that when mothers resumed working during their child's infancy, they were perceived as less communal and positive overall in comparison to those that took a break or stopped working entirely. So in regard to the previous research, the hypothesis for this study is that stay-at-home mothers will be perceived as overall having better mothering abilities and values in comparison to working mothers, who will more likely be perceived as more successful, intelligent, and likable. Along with this, the second hypothesis is that these perceptions will be consistent across both male and female participants. Excuse me. For the participants in the study, they were undergraduate and graduate students from a small Catholic liberal arts university. They were of many races, and it was conducted from the whole student body of the university. Of the 120 participants, 31 were male and 93 were female. So the materials needed for this study were 2 questionnaires that were created by the experimenter, a survey to follow, which was accessed through the internet browser Qualtrics, and then a laptop owned by each individual participant in order for them to access the survey on their own time. Excuse me. For the procedure, the participants were first given 5 demographic questions, such as race, age, whether they were graduate or undergraduate students, as well as their birth month or their birthday. So the question about their birthday was actually a randomizing question, which separated them into 2 randomized groups for the 2 different conditions. And then after they were done with the demographic questions, an image was shown based on the condition that they were assigned to based on their birth month. So the surveys that they were shown were actually created, excuse me, were created by the experimenter, and however, they were told that it was a random survey from a general research survey that had been conducted in the past. So the following this, after they had been given and seen the survey and read over the responses, participants continued to the survey portion in order to evaluate the target mother that they had received. based on the condition that they were in. They did this with a 5-point Likert scale, and 1 was strongly disagree, and 5 was strongly agree. Within this, there were various subscales of values like ability, success, intelligence, and mothering abilities. Excuse me. Once the surveys were completed, all the participants were given a full debrief on the research and thanked their contribution to the study. So when analyzing the data, and after it was all compiled and gathered, the data was analyzed, and it was found within each individual subscale, as you can see here in the graphs, that there was no significant difference between the stay-at-home mother and the working mother. Along with this, there was also no significant difference between the perceptions that was given by male and female participants. This was seen throughout all of the subscales, except the mothering ability subscale. So, in this subscale in particular, male participants perceived stay-at-home mothers to have better overall mothering abilities than the working mother. Along with this, female participants also perceived this within the mother that stayed at home and the mother that went to work outside of the home. These results were statistically significant, and the difference between them the difference between them was statistically significant as the perception of the target mothers was different. However, there was no significant difference between the perceptions of male and female participants that had been given. The conclusions of this study, it was found that the stay-at-home mothers were perceived to have overall better mothering abilities in comparison to the working mothers. This supported the hypothesis as well as data found in Kahn and researchers' study that was conducted in 2014, as well as the study in 1995 from Bridges and Etoh. While in regard to value, success, intelligence, and likability, the stay-at-home mothers and working mothers were pretty much perceived as entirely equal. This did not support the hypothesis. Along with this, it was also confirmed that there were no statistical significant differences in the perceptions of the target mother between the female and male participants in regard to any of the subscales. This also supported the second hypothesis that it would be the same between both genders. However, something I found very interesting was that even though there was no significant difference between the perceptions reported by participants, male participants consistently perceived the stay-at-home mother to be better overall in every single subscale category, while the female participants fluctuated who was better between each category. Some implications for this study is that this research gives greater insight into the cultural and gender normacies within society today, and specifically even within a culture that has recently placed a lot of emphasis on women and their ability to move higher into their career and gain more power. This research really gives evidence that even though that is something that's very common within our culture today, it's still a firm belief that children are in need of their mother to be in the home frequently, and that mothers play a very influential role within the family. Some limitations of this study is that the only information that participants were given was mainly focused on the choices the target mother made in regard to her career and parenting decisions. So this could have really influenced the other subscales other than mothering abilities, as since there was not a lot of information, a lot of the participants gave neither agree nor disagree as their rating on the 5-point scale. And this could have affected why the other subscales were not statistically significant, while the mothering abilities one was. Along with this, researchers were unable to monitor the environment that the survey was given in, as this research was done during a global pandemic. For further research, a lot could be done. One further research idea that could be conducted is that, still looking at the perception of mothers. However, in this study, and a future study with looking at the perception of mothers, doing it in regard and with knowledge of the participants' own experience with their mother and their personal choice to stay at home or to work from outside of the home, as this could greatly affect each participant's own specific feelings toward not only their own mother and their decision, but also other mothers and their decisions in parenting their children. Along with this, another research that could be conducted, excuse me, could include having older participants in order to gain more insight into how individuals in that particular phase of life actually view various mothering decisions and the differences between making the decision to stay at home or the decision to work from outside of the home. Thank you for listening. Those are all the research that I have, and I really appreciate your time.